And welcome into the Gary Ayd Show. Thank you so much for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Online at cavetalkradio.com, the Cave Talk Radio app for Apple and Android. And, of course, you can find us on Facebook and YouTube Live. Facebook, we're approaching 500 likes. We're well over 500 followers. So thank you very much. Well over 200, approaching 300 downloads of the app. So thank you again. And quick little nugget before we get going today. No show Wednesday and Thursday this week, most likely on the app. We'll have one on Facebook Live only. I'll be traveling a little bit, so we'll have one on Facebook. We will not have one on the app. So just a quick programming note. So let's just get into the elephant in the room today, Rich, shall we? Let's just dive into it. I mean, that Super Bowl was breathtaking. I mean, it was truly from start to finish. Both of these teams, this was the definition of a sports heavyweight match. These were the two best teams in football. And I feel satisfied with the outcome of the season. And I would have felt just as satisfied if Philly had won by 3. These were
I feel teams, the exact same way.
They were better than everybody, both of them. They just were.
Yes.
And you're a fan of a team that was in that next group down, but last night's game was final affirmation to me that whether it's the Bills, the Niners, the Cowboys, couple of the other teams that were pseudo contenders this year, they got some distance to make up still. These two teams are better than those teams right now.
Yes, they are. They are. And I feel like I have some affirmations today because when we did our football preview at the beginning of the year, I told you who the best quarterback in the NFC East was.
Yes, that's true. You said Jalen Hurts, and you were right.
And every once in a while,
yep,
I get one right.
Hey, you got it. No, he definitely by far was the best quarterback in that division this year.
I just really have a lot of respect for his game. And he was going up against someone who's going to be an all-timer.
Oh, yeah. Without a doubt. And that is and the thing with both of these teams, there's just talent all over the roster on both sides of the ball for both of these clubs. I mean, there's so many players. Gainwell and Sweat. Gainwell's the running back, but Sweat and Hassan Reddick and all these other guys they have on their front line, and they got A.J. Brown out there, and who's that Gobert guy? My God, that tight end. He made 2 crazy catches.
I think I told you about him in a prop to take.
Yes, you did. What a beast. I mean, God.
He can play.
Jeez, there's so many good players, and Philly's offensive line is amazing. Give a lot of credit. That's the other thing in this game. I'm talking about the players here, but talk about the coaching. I mean, both sides have so much coaching talent. I mean, because that second half, the Kansas City defense was able to get pressure on Hurts multiple times, and even when they didn't sack him, because I don't know if they sacked him at all, but they flushed him a lot. They hurried him. They forced early throws. And that was all coaching from Steve Spagnuolo with a halftime adjustment. They had a whole different approach in the second half, and it worked.
And I am going to look at this from the exact opposite side. Is someone ever going to give Eric Bieniemy a look? This is a league that loves to rehire retreads. He knows his offense.
Yeah, Bieniemy is an interesting case. We've talked about him a few times the last few years, and
you should hear the way Reed talks about it.
I personally wonder this, and I think this is probably at least a contributing factor to why he's not a head coach yet. And this is smart on his part if I'm right about this, because it makes sense. If I'm him, I don't want to go be the head coach of the Texans versus the offensive coordinator with Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I wonder if it's just one of those, the right job hasn't presented itself, and a combination of maybe he's interviewed for a couple of jobs that he thought were good fits, and for one reason or another, they hired someone else. I don't know. And the only other thing I'll say is a lot of times, and this isn't fair, but it's just the way it is. You can at least understand it. When the principal attribute of the assistant is the same principal attribute of the head coach, oftentimes it goes like, you people ask the question in the back of their mind, well, who's really calling the shots on the offensive side? And the truth
Well,
is,
this is the second team he's proven himself.
because he was with what, Pittsburgh before this?
Chargers.
Chargers. Okay, yeah. Okay, who was the head coach when he was there? Do you remember? For the
There were a
Chargers?
couple.
He wasn't there with Marty, was he? It was after
No.
that, right? Yeah. Okay.
Was after that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
But he was there a while. I don't know. Andy Reid even had the same question. Why don't people call me asking for a chance to interview?
Because I know he's interviewed for a number of jobs over the last few years. And I also just wonder how many he's personally said, "Nah, I'm good." Like, because
he could have. I mean, but the number that he's had in the last 2 years has gone down. To this year, he's had none.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and that's you ask the question, but also it's weird like that. You become a hot name for a minute, and then all of a sudden there's a new hot name in town.
They want the next shiny thing.
Yeah, right. I mean, but yeah, he's absolutely a quality head coach, or a quality coach, and should get a chance to be a head coach. I just think this is interesting. Dylan's writing in the chats. Owners want to make sure Bieniemy is the real deal and can call plays. If not, it's going to be risky because Bieniemy has a bad domestic battery case from some years ago. It'll be brought back up into the media once he's hired. I didn't know that, and that's unfortunate. But
that is unfortunate.
I wasn't aware of that. Good information, Dylan.
It's also the NFL. The players have done much.
Oh, right. No, I mean that. No, and I wouldn't personally. I wouldn't consider that with hiring. I don't care. Particularly if it's some years ago and already been litigated, then it really doesn't matter to me. But it's interesting. But getting back to this game, I know you had a couple of things on both the ending and sort of the Kansas City Chiefs from like a Buffalo perspective.
Yes. Let's get to the second elephant in the room. Damn, this room is crowded.
I'm telling you, man. It's amazing.
I will go after a ref.
Yes.
If I think they screw up, and rightfully so.
Especially in the NFL.
Yes. The same way, because they have such a terrible track record. I'm not going to blame the penalty at the end of the game for the Eagles' loss. Was it called at an inopportune time? Yeah. Would I have made the call? Maybe, maybe not. I'm more of a let him play guy. But James Bradbury admitted he tugged down the jersey.
Yeah.
But the Eagles benefited from a doink off the upright.
Mm-hmm.
Eagles defense needed to break the momentum of the Chiefs offense in the second half. Couldn't get a stop.
Couldn't do it.
The Eagles did have a 10-point lead. Jalen Hurts had a fumble, which was returned for a TD. Having said that, though, the Eagles have their franchise quarterback, believe me.
Oh, yeah. And I'll tell you one other thing.
Bringing them back from the 8-point deficit showed me something. And I'm going to be interested to see what this coach-quarterback combo does in the future.
Oh, God, yeah. And I'll tell you.
Second season together, and they came close to winning this thing.
Oh, yeah, as close as you can get without winning it. Now, one thing I'll add to kind of what you said, and I agree with everything you said, the play where I think it was A.J. Brown, they reversed the fumble, which would have been another almost identical pick up and run touchdown from Nick Bolton. That would have been almost too funny to the one you just referenced on the Hurts fumble. That call could have gone either way.
Yes.
Yeah, that was very, very close to a catch. It was
agreed.
It was ruled not a catch, and I think that was the right ruling. But if they had said there's not enough here to overturn the call on the field, that would have been sensible. That was bang bang too. So that's one that Philly dodged a bullet on. And the other thing I've been telling people today about the ending of this game, remember, the Chiefs had a touchdown and they chose not to take it. Let's say,
what if he'd have missed a field goal?
Right. What if he had missed a field goal? Or let's say that call is not made. Well, they go in for the touchdown the next play. They're not gonna at that point, they're not gonna slide. And
there wouldn't have been if it wasn't called. It would have been fourth down. They'd have kicked the field goal
they would have kicked the field goal that minute, right?
And giving the Eagles the ball back, which is why I think people were so upset.
Probably going for the overtime at that point.
Yeah. Remember one thing though through this, Gary, Patrick Mahomes silencing the Eagles defense decided the Super Bowl more than a late flag did.
Yeah, right. Oh, yeah. I mean, Patrick Mahomes.
Do I have an issue? Yeah. You know what the real travesty in that game was?
What's that?
The condition of the playing field.
That's what happens when you have
the Super Bowl, guys.
A 94-year-old man overseeing it. Maybe it's time. Well, he is retiring. And that was
fix that.
I heard that was a new style of surface. So this has been something that has happened at this particular stadium a few times this year. So maybe it was a bad choice to have the game here, although these are predetermined long before, the year. These are determined 5-6 years out, these locations. But yeah, that was, well, which kicker was it? Was the Eagle kicker or the Chiefs kicker that made a field goal of decent length while falling at the same time? One of them made a field goal while falling. I think it was the Eagles kicker.
Eagles kicker.
Yeah. Dylan, a big Eagles fan, saying, "Thank God our defensive coordinator will be gone. He got ate up in the second half." I mean, he did, but I have to be honest. Patrick Mahomes is like a cheat code, man.
Yeah,
I don't know that that's the defensive coordinator's fault. I really don't. I mean,
yeah, he's
oh man, what a beast. And the thing about him that this year in particular, I've grown to really appreciate. That dude is tough as nails, man. He plays through shit. He really does. And I mean, that injury, I posted, I thought, the Eagles caught a real break at the end of the first half, thinking, if he's out, that's a big, good lucky break for the Eagles. And yet he comes back in the second half. It looked like he had a perfect ankle. He's running. He had 2 or 3 big scrambles in the second half. One, he lowered his shoulder on. Pretty incredible stuff.
Oh, I know.
Pretty incredible stuff.
I know. I enjoy watching a player that doesn't play afraid.
Oh, he's not afraid of anything. And
along with Josh Allen, sometimes there's a reckless factor I wish wouldn't happen. But that's part of what makes both these quarterbacks themselves.
Oh man. I think also was it Ponchero? Man, that guy's a bruiser. He's not huge either, but he runs with such force. I was very impressed with him in this game. Of all the players, I would say he was the guy that jumped off the screen to me in terms of someone I wasn't super familiar with. That really was man, this guy's a beast. And
agreed.
You had him. I mean, on the Eagles side of the coin, you got what you expected from most of those guys. That tight end Goldberg was the guy that, I mean, that's a guy you could probably do a lot more with. I mean, that guy's got a set of hands on him, and he's physical and tough. Man, this was just a great game. These are two great teams, and this was a battle royale, if there ever was one. Just an absolute stud of a game.
Absolutely. Oh, it really was.
Yeah.
It was like a heavyweight fight.
Yep.
And these were the 2 NFL heavyweights.
Someone's messing with us. Cave Talk Radio Human Resources. We're going to fire both co-hosts unless they sing the Eagles fight song.
I want to get fired if I have to sing a fight song.
All I know is I only know part of the Army one. March on to victory. That's all I got. West Point's down the corner for me. What do you expect? Oh man.
Oh yeah.
What a great game.
It was. It was everything this game is supposed to be.
Yeah, hopefully we get more Super Bowls like this. I'll tell you what.
Oh yeah.
I can live with a few of these. And if Dylan's right here that these two are the future, and we get, dare I say, maybe a rematch at some point, that's that's good with me. I'm down with it. I By the way, I have to give the Eagles a lot of credit for one thing too. Their coaching staff, their offensive coaching staff, is so insanely aggressive with their play calling. They don't even I don't know if they know that they have a punter on their roster. That one punt, they're like, "We got someone that does this what's this crap? Oh, yeah, this punt thing." Man, they go for it and get it on every fourth down. Those QB sneaks they were running were nuts every damn time. They looked like there were 20 guys on both sides of the field every time they ran one of those because all the guys in there were so big. They all look the size of two guys. It
Yeah.
looked like there were 20 guys on each side of the field instead of 20 total.
All
22
four
total.
lines were so impressive.
Yes. Yes. Oh, they
And
really
Dylan
are.
made another interesting comment about Mahomes proving, he could win without Cheetah is the biggest storyline. It's a big storyline, but he wasn't replaced with bums.
No, I mean,
Marquez Valdez-Scantling's a good receiver,
yep.
and John Smith-Schuster was amazing.
Yeah, he's awesome. And don't those both just sound like football receiver names? They really do.
When you use his real name, John Smith-Schuster, yes.
Yeah. Oh, I meant the other guy more specifically. Marquez
I'm
Valdez
not
Scantling.
Scantling. Oh yeah. I'm not calling a grown ass man Juju. I'm sorry.
uh yeah, Hertz is a beast. There's no question about it.
I felt that way.
Yeah, I mean, it's just you got Hertz. Hertz was great. I like I like this whole roster for the Eagles. The only thing that I wonder about is nothing to do with them, but it's the same thing I wonder about with anybody. How do you, when you need to get a stop against Kansas City, how do you do it? I mean, when they're dialed in and focused, like, I don't know that there's a way to really slow them down. I mean, because this Eagles defense is as good a defense as I forget this year. This is as good a defense as I've seen in the NFL in the last 20 years. Like,
Oh yeah.
you know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah.
And
That is
they couldn't touch them in the second half. Crazy.
no punts. They did not have one defensive stop.
Yeah, I mean, insane. Truly incredible. So what a great game. All right, we'll have more on this. We got to take a break. We'll come back. We'll take a momentary detour over to the question of the day, and we'll continue on from there. It's the Gary Ayd Show here on the Cave.
Somebody that I could trust, one that assisted in
The English Institute of Sport is tracking symptoms. I am KO. Back in a minute with your sports question of the day.
Why have thousands of aspiring authors teamed up with Christian Faith Publishing to publish their book? Because Christian Faith Publishing is an author-friendly publisher who understands that your labor is more than just a book. We provide authors freedom and flexibility throughout the publishing process, professional book editing, award-winning design, and some of the highest royalty structures in the publishing industry. And as always, you will retain 100% of the rights to your book.
I was looking to find a company that I could trust, one that assisted in the editing process completely.
The most important qualities that I was looking for was a publisher who was honest and upfront.
Christian Faith Publishing will publish, market, and sell your books in all major bookstores, online booksellers, as well as specialty Christian bookstores. Call for your free author submission kit.
Call 800-710-3720. 800-710-3720. 800-710-3720. Again, that's 800-710-3720.
The English Institute of Sport has begun studying hormone levels in female athletes in a bid to better understand how those hormones affect training. Study co-lead Dr. Richard Burden cited one study on female rugby players, telling The Guardian 93% of players reported cycle-related symptoms, and 67% thought those symptoms affected their athletic performance. He said, if they don't have a healthy cycle, it means for whatever reason, something's not quite right. Question: have you or have you not experienced decreased athleticism due to hormonal imbalance?
Yeah, this is not a question for us to answer, really, but
it's not. That's not our lane. I mean, come on.
But it's an interesting finding, because they're not talking about, people going through hormone therapy to transition from one gender to the next. They're talking about biological women here, regular women without transitioning anything. That is interesting. I mean, it makes sense that it would have some effect on the body. I mean, chemical interactions in the body are such a part of all activities that the body can and can't do. So it makes sense. I'm surprised that this is, to be honest with you, the one thing I'll have on this is I'm surprised that this is newsworthy enough now to be a question. Like, this seems like something that would have been well studied and well known already, to be honest with you. Because I mean, female sports now has been a thing for, a century or better almost. I mean, in one capacity or another. And certainly more of a established thing now than it was even 20 years ago, but it's not new. This seems like a fundamental thing that would be part of like the physicals of female athletes. I'm just surprised that this is newsworthy, to be honest. I really am. And it sounds like they don't know a lot about it. That's the part that's really surprising.
It is. I remember that being talked about. I'm older than you and was alive for this, but I remember them talking about that being an issue during the Bobby Riggs Billie Jean King match. That was a long time ago.
What? The one of them didn't have a healthy cycle or something, or what?
Well, they, sports writers.
Yep.
Who weren't like the deepest thinkers. They were saying things like, what happens if she bleeds during the game? What happens if she cramps? I'm like, Billie Jean King's a warrior. She's not going to be yelling, time, my period. I mean, come on.
Right, of course.
It's the dumbest thing.
Right.
And this is why the people that actually know what they're talking about need to address these questions.
No, this one surprises me. So not a whole lot more to say on that.
I am shocked, like you, that we're not further ahead in that.
That's my takeaway with this, is that I just assumed this was something that was well known, well understood, and had a normal like ABC triage procedure for addressing. Okay,
yes.
Take that. You're a little bit deficient in this vitamin or whatever. This cycle, add this, take away some of that, whatever. but that's apparently not the case. So
I also think that maybe it's not addressed that often because what training regimens are and vitamin regimens that athletes are on and supplements are so far advanced
right.
that it may not even be an issue or anywhere near as much of an issue.
Yeah, that's true too. It is true. Getting back to the Super Bowl here. During the
Hey, can I throw some numbers at you?
yeah, sure. What do you got?
Numbers can quantify a lot of stuff, and I mean, this is just Mahomes. I mean, in 2018, he took over as the full-time starter. Since then, he's 14-10 in games his team trails by double digits. All other quarterbacks are 192, 1,003, and 5.
What?
In the same situation.
Wait a second. Wait. So they lose 10x times the number
It's
of times they win.
0.162, the win percentage, where Mahomes is
man.
0.583.
That is insane. That is a great fact.
I mean, they trailed by 10 at halftime, but more concerning was the way he was limping around.
Yeah, that did not
Then
look
all
good.
of a sudden he comes alive.
Yep.
It's like he's a cyborg,
He's so
or he's got a deal worked out with the lizard people. But he comes out 10 plays, 75 yards. Isaiah Pacheco scores.
Yep.
Chiefs hold the Eagles to a field goal. Another drive, 9 plays, 75 yards with a touchdown to Kadarius Toney. Oh, thank you, Eagles, for that or Giants for that early Christmas gift.
Yes.
Far better than a super soaker.
I don't know. Super soakers are pretty cool.
They are. Eagles go 3 and out. Toney returns a punt, 65 yards, Super Bowl record. Mahomes throws a touchdown pass. Hurts gets a touchdown, 2-point conversion, great drive. Kansas City comes back, 12 plays, 66 yards, hits the field goal. What was the highlight of that drive?
Of the game-winning drive?
Yeah.
Got
to be Mahomes' run.
It's got to be that big run he had. It was like a 30-yard run. He like lowered
26-yarder, his longest of the season. This guy's throwing a legacy together, man.
Oh, he really.
And he's 27.
I know. Oh, well, the NFL's in trouble because, like, Andy Reid was probably thinking a couple years ago, maybe I'll coach another couple years, whatever. Now he's thinking, bring out the oxygen mask if I need it. I'm coaching till this guy's done, man. I'm riding this one out.
Oh, yeah. He said it last night on a post-game interview. Oh, I'm coming back.
Of course he is.
Of course he's coming back. They got donuts. Come on.
That's right. And barbecue.
That's right.
Donuts, barbecue, and Patrick Mahomes. Why wouldn't I come back?
Oh, and we know Andy likes a good burger. He has said so.
Andy's the best. It was.
He is. He is. He's a great interview.
Oh, he's hilarious. See, this is why, like, I never really liked. I mean, there's a lot of reasons I don't like Belichick, but like Andy Reid's every bit of coach as Belichick. Belichick has won more titles. Okay, fine, but like Andy Reid's right on that level. And he's fun. Like, you can be great and not an asshole at the same time. You can do both.
Right. Right.
Like, come on, guys. Like, there's just, I don't know why more coaches don't think that way. Like, why do I got to be Grouch McDuck over here in San Antonio? Like, come on, man. Like, you don't have to be an asshole. Like,
San Antonio's a unique situation. What if the wine selection's not up to par?
Oh, no.
That'll get him grouchy. I mean, and think about it. What reason is there to leave? You got a nice core of receivers. Oh, and they have Travis Kelce, too.
Yeah. Minor detail.
Offensive line, 0 sacks yesterday against the best defense in football.
Yeah. Both offensive lines were brilliant yesterday.
Yes, they were.
They really were.
The X's and O's that Reed and Bieniemy threw together, and yes, Reed gave him credit on the game plan. There's a lot of things they can learn from this.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very cool that Damar Hamlin was there.
Yes. Yep. That was good.
Extremely nice to see.
Yep, he was there.
Chad Henne goes out on top.
Oh, he retired?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Well, there you go. Chad Henne goes out on top.
He goes out on top with a ring.
That's another thing. Why would you retire right now if you're him? I mean, you got the best job in the world. Mahomes plays most of the time.
Yeah, he does.
All right, I want to address a question that came in over the break, or a statement, really. Jason writes in. I think this is an astute point and observation by him. He says, to me, the one big thing that stood out is you can't make one mistake against Mahomes. That Hurts fumble when he dropped the ball in his own was huge. But people will talk more about the holding call. I agree.
Yeah, I addressed him on it too.
Yeah. I think, and I was telling you this before we came on the air. I was sitting, I think what illustrates Jason's point, because I felt that the whole game. He put into words what I was feeling throughout the whole game, which is really, especially in the second half, but really most of the game, no matter who had the ball or what the score was, I was waiting for something catastrophic to happen to somebody that was going to be like, oh, that's the end of the game, because you just got the feeling that if you messed up even a little bit, no matter who you were, that was it. I mean, there was no margin for error in this game for anybody. None. Really, zero.
True. And that's what I said. You have to play almost mistake-free to beat that.
To beat either of these teams.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what made it so great, is that, like, the Chiefs didn't make any mistakes, and they only won by 3, and they scored almost 40 points.
Right.
And that speaks to the quality of their opponent and how great Philadelphia is.
Mm-hmm. Because they put 35 up against KC's defense.
Right. Exactly. What a.
So all these people going into the draft now, has any other team learned anything from this yet? Any of these geniuses have anything to say? Oh, we need a receiver to get over the hump. We need a running back to get over the hump.
How about
you need offensive line?
Yep, that's right. Absolutely.
Period.
No question about it. How about a line? How about some linebackers? What about that? I think, like, you know, it's funny, like, and we go through these phases in sports, right, where a new generation comes to power and they get this idea in their head, like, oh, well, it's different now. It's a new age. And, you know, for forever, linebackers, particularly middle linebackers, were considered the crown jewel of a defense. Now it's your edge rushers and your defensive backs. Linebackers are almost considered, like, you know, interchangeable parts. They're like the running back of the defense. And this game should tell everybody, wait a minute, that's not the case. Look at Hassan Reddick and look at Nick Bolton, the two best defensive players on the field last night.
Yes.
Nick Bolton was a beast last night. An absolute beast.
Yes, he was.
He had hits all over the place. He was in coverage. He had the big fumble recovery for a touchdown. He had a second one, actually, that was called back because they ruled it an incomplete pass. Just let's, you talk about learning something. Like, let's try to have a little humility, new age nerds, and think maybe our fathers and grandfathers weren't Neanderthal doofuses. Maybe they knew something. Yeah, linebackers are important. Hello. Who knew?
I will go all the way back to John Madden and Al Davis having discussions on how you need to build a team from what position out. Al Davis felt it was cornerback and offensive line, and Madden thought it was exactly the opposite.
Madden thought what?
It was offensive line and corner.
Oh, I see.
And then everything else will
kind of fall into place.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a few ways to do it. I generally believe on offense, line, and a good running back and 2 good pass catching options is,
and
like
today's game, probably 3.
Well, I'm just talking for like a starting point to get like a good basis, because to me, if you have a really good offensive line and a threat running game, look at the Giants. They don't have good receivers. Oh, and the guys that they do have are all hurt this year. And their quarterback came in pretty much on his last legs. and had a great season because he was coached well, had a good offensive line and a great running back, and was able to play from ahead and play, off play action and, really not have all that pressure on him. I think that is a far more sustainable build model than hoping you get the next Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen or whoever. Because even Jalen Hurts, who has proved himself beyond a shred of a doubt, the one thing you can still say, and this is still true, and it's not a knock on him, it's just a reality, he's playing on a loaded roster. Because because they built the team the right way.
Mm-hmm.
And, Kansas City's the same thing. But you have your ability to be, it turns average to good, good to great, and great to all time if you build the team the right way. It levels you up one stage.
It's team building and coaching.
Right. I think Jalen Hurts is good, but with this roster and coaching staff, he's great. I think Mahomes is great, and with this roster and coaching staff, he's an all-timer.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Agreed.
Mahomes is better than Hurts, but they're both good quarterbacks.
Right.
In ideal situations.
Neither is a game manager.
No, they're both playmakers, 100%.
They can both, right.
Mahomes is just a little bit better, but he's better than everybody.
He's better than everyone.
Right. So, but yeah, you have to give your quarterback the right weapons, and more precisely, if you have the right build, your range of quarterback that could be successful in it multiplies dramatically.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, that's the thing. It's like, if you have the right roster around the guy, like look at Geno Smith this year. I mean, they were a decent team. They weren't a great team, but they had the right pieces for him, and they got the best possible season out of him.
They had a decent offensive line.
Yep.
Young running back.
Yep.
Who was really good, and a good receiving core. Yep. And they knew how to make use of it.
And they made use of it. Yeah. No, it was something. That second half defense though by the Chiefs, I think it needs to be given some credit too. I mean, the offense was unstoppable in the second half, but the defense really, I think, enabled that, because one of the things we say the Chiefs offense was unstoppable in the second half as if they were stonewalled in the first, but the truth is they basically didn't have the ball in the first half because the defense couldn't get off the field on third and long, third and short, fourth down conversions. The Eagles must have had about 6 of those in the first half.
That's where a defensive coordinator that knows how to make adjustments comes in handy.
Yep, that's why I gave Spagnuolo a lot of credit.
I'm in Buffalo. I know nothing about that.
Oh God, poor Leslie Frazier. But
yeah, and I really don't think it's his fault.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, but I'll say this though, on that point, if you look at it, I'm not so sure had that Kansas City defense played the way it did in the second half and the first half, I'm not so sure the Chiefs wouldn't have put up 45 or 50 points in this game. Like, I don't know that their offense kicked into gear so much as they had the ball more.
Yeah, that's true. Well, they did kick into gear. I mean, players were even saying they didn't play at the same pace they normally play at.
Yeah. Yeah, just that, like, I think the time of possession for Kansas City was like 6 minutes in the whole first half.
Right. And then look at the difference in the second half.
Right.
And it's a tribute to their offense that they could have the ball for like 24 minutes in a 60-minute game.
And score
38 points.
Amazing. Absolutely incredible. Really is. Wow. All right. Well,
and the nice thing is, and it's a combination of coaching and playing, these players don't overreact when they fall behind.
No. Nope.
I mean, they were just played the game like it's meant to be.
And you talk about having a being well coached. That heady play on that by that running back to slide at the 2 or whatever. Not everyone's gonna pull that off.
No. No, there's a lot of them. I mean, heat of the moment, you're not thinking of that, even
Right.
if you're told. Your instincts take over.
You know, I thought
But-
that was an interesting decision because, I mean,
They didn't want to
give Philly the ball.
give them the ball with any time left.
Right.
That's the respect they had for that offense.
Of course, and I understand that. I guess what I was gonna say is that what was more likely to happen? A fluke play to get them a field goal, or go down the field in about a minute or less and actually have to score a touchdown. But I mean, so I understood both.
Well, if
thoughts
they'd have
of
scored
it.
a touchdown there was a minute and a half left.
Oh, there was a whole minute and a half. I thought it was
And
about
they
a
had
minute there.
And they had a couple timeouts.
No, they had used all their timeouts by then, or they might have had one left. I think they
No, they
left.
had one left because
They
they
had one
used it to stop the clock.
right
one
after
time.
that. Yeah.
Right.
They had one left. Right.
So with a minute and a half and one timeout, you can get a field goal.
Right.
Not as easy to get 6, but
To
you
get a
never
touchdown.
know. That's
Right.
not a
Yeah, you didn't want to.
not a bad offense. They didn't want to put the ball in their hands, and I get it.
I understand. The one bit of nitpicking I'll make on coaching was I think it was Kansas City's last touchdown. They went up by 7 with the touchdown, and they chose to go for the point after to make it 8 instead of going for 2 and making it a 2-score game. And I really thought there was nothing to lose by going for the 2, because worst case scenario, Philly comes back and answers, which they did. In that situation, they're going to kick the point after to tie it if they're down 7. And they went for 2 because they were down 8, and they got that too. But they don't go for 2 if they're just down 7. So to me, if you're Kansas City there, you have a chance to go up 2 scores. I thought that was a no-brainer that they chose to be overly conservative on, in my opinion. Because the worst case is you're up a touchdown in the point after, like that, if you don't get the 2. You know what I mean? That was the worst case. You had a chance to make it a 2-score
Right,
game.
but by taking the easy one, you're up 8, meaning they would have to get 8 to tie.
Right. But
And we have enough confidence in our offense that we can go back downfield and score.
and score again. Yeah, I would have gone for 2 there. I understand what you're saying, but to me, it was a free option to go for 2. Like, there was no downside to it.
I probably wouldn't have, because if they did and they didn't make it and the Eagles did score, I think the Eagles, with much less time in the game, would have went for 2.
Okay.
Because then the worst it would have been is a tie.
Yep. Well, no, it wouldn't have been.
Although-
No, it wouldn't have been a tie. If they had gone for 2 in that situation,
And didn't make
they
it.
would have been down by 1, the Eagles.
All right.
You see what I'm saying?
Well, then the Eagles could have went for 2
Because the
and,
Chiefs were
and tried to win.
the Chiefs were up 7 after the touchdown, pending the PAT. So if the Chiefs
All right,
go for
yeah,
2
yeah.
and don't get it, the Eagles score, they go for 2 and don't get it. Now they're still down 1.
Right.
That's why I would have gone for it there if I was the Chiefs, because there was no real downside to it. Because
And if they wouldn't have gotten it, I'd have gone for it if I was the Eagles, because I don't want to tie this thing and take that team into overtime.
no, you want to try to win it then. Although there was still
Right.
so much time left after the Eagles scored that.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, I think going for 2 there would have made more sense. But whatever.
True, but at that point, you couldn't count on your defense getting you a 3 and out.
No, that's true. But yeah, I even more the reason why I would have wanted to be up 2 scores. Because there was
Yeah,
about
I
7
understand
minutes
that.
left or something like that at that point. So that was an interesting point in that game. And for a little while, that missed field goal in the first half was looming a little bit large for Kansas City. But
True.
they overcame that, obviously.
True. They missed a 42-yarder.
Yep. Yeah, that was tough. Yeah, so anyway, there was what a game.
Yes, it was.
It was just a great game. Really, truly enjoyed it. And yeah, it was awesome. It was totally awesome. All right, let's take one more break here. Well, we only got like 8 minutes before the top of the hour. I guess we could just keep it right here.
I'll stick with it. Okay.
We're where do you go from here? Like if you're both of these teams, what do you do going into the off season now?
Make sure you sign everyone you have.
Yeah. Just run it back as best you can, right? Basically.
Yes.
Yeah, because it's gonna be hard to upgrade anything.
True. You might want to add a depth piece here and there. I mean, you can never have too much depth, and that's been proven during this season.
Which team in which league do you think is the closest to unseating one of these two?
The 49ers in the NFC, if the quarterback situation is settled.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree. Man, in the AFC, I don't know, man. Every time I think Buffalo is like right there on the doorstep, Kansas City I watched them and I think, God, how are you going to beat them?
You're not. They beat them every year in the regular season, though.
Right. They do. Well, that's what I mean. Cause and that's why I think Buffalo's close. Cause they always.
I don't. I think Cincinnati's much closer.
You think Cincinnati's closer? Okay.
Yeah. They, oh, gee. I think Buffalo's run is, I think their window is closing rapidly. They don't have a quarterback playing on a friendly contract anymore.
Yep.
They have a good number of holes to fill. And I don't even need to get into my spiel about a defensive head coach. Because you don't have the kind of thought process on the sidelines to beat either of the teams doing what they did yesterday.
Right.
And in fact, everyone wants to run Leslie Frazier out of Buffalo. But who was the coach that overruled him on the defenses he wanted to play with 13 seconds left in the game? They had one. Gee, it was the head guy.
Would you clean house on the coaching staff? Would you take that radical step this offseason for the Bills?
I don't know.
I
don't know because there's not someone available I would have to have.
Right.
But I feel this team's gone as far as they can with Doug McDermott. It's a nice story. He and the GM are kind of a package deal. Well, the GM traded the 10th pick in the 2017 draft to Kansas City.
Oops.
Who took Mahomes.
Oopsies.
They got another number one back, okay, which was not a great pick. And they got the 27th pick that year, what they used to take Tre'Davious White, a good corner.
Yes.
A nice player. He ain't winning you no Super Bowl.
No.
And I am in the Colin Cowherd school on this very much. This is where your defensive coaches don't cut it. Unless you're a defensive coach who's lucky enough to have a great offensive mind working with him, as McDermott did. But those great offensive minds seem to get hired away quickly. The defensive guys don't. You'll see a lot of D guys go from coordinator to coordinator position if they think there's more of a future. But those guys aren't usually the ones. And Andy Reid shows this in droves. I've got a great defensive coordinator. My offensive coordinator and I are going to concentrate on this side of the ball. And we're going to put some things together that will blow your mind. Defensive coaches, we got to tighten up that defense.
Yep.
They don't think as much about the offensive end.
Right.
In this day and age, you have to. Because defenses don't have a lot of the advantages they used to. And it's just I don't know. It's to me, it's backwards thinking. You have to have an offensive mind to compete in this game now, which is why one of the reasons why I think the Bengals are closer. And the Bengals have another year of a grace period because their quarterback's still on a sweet deal.
Yes, he is. That's very true.
Well, once those deals are done, you're not adding Stephon Diggs, Von Miller, guys like that.
No, it's because you can't afford to with the cap.
You can't. You're
Right.
going to have to hit the scrap heap.
Yep.
And try to find O-line help. Good luck. They've been taking that route for 5 years. Where's it gotten them? The only other team I see in the AFC that would really put a scare into me is the Chargers, but their coaching negates that. What do you feel about the contenders?
I think San Francisco is by far the closest of anybody.
Yes.
I thought at the time, and it's played out this way to kind of show this, that McCaffrey trade, where it looked like Buffalo was just as in on it as the Niners, was a NFL inflection point for the next few years for both clubs. I think it closed Buffalo's window much more rapidly, and it extended and blew open the Niners window. I thought that was a league-altering trade. I really believe that.
Yes, it did. I agree with that completely.
I mean, this is a guy I know he's kind of, been in Carolina, sort of in, Alcatraz of the NFL, and he gets hurt.
Yeah,
hurt
basically.
All the time. But
gets hurt all the time because he's the only person they can depend on to do anything, and that's not the case in San Francisco.
This guy's a stud. He's a total stud, and he's a game-changing player of the highest order. There's only maybe 8 guys in the whole NFL who are playmakers of his caliber. I mean, this is an elite player, and adding him to a team that was already really good was league-altering. So, and that's why I think they're really close. The thing I worry about with Cincinnati, 2 things I worry about with them. One is their offensive line, and then the second one that kind of goes along with that is Burrow's tendency to hold the ball a long time, trying to extend plays behind an offensive line that's going to get him killed.
Agreed.
And to me, until that offensive line is solved, I think Cincinnati is going to lose close games late in the season to great teams. They're good enough that they're going to get there. I mean, they were in the Super Bowl 2 years ago. They were a whisker away from this year. Like, they're kind of close, but I think they're always going to have, I don't think they get any closer until they fix that issue, because again, when you're playing games at that level of the season, the team you're going against is going to have a great pass rush that's going to take advantage of an offensive line like that.
Right.
And it happens every time.
I agree. But I look at the Niners and I see Trent Williams.
Yep.
I look at Kansas City and I see what's their left tackle's name.
Oh, yeah. Whatever his name. Yeah, the big white guy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a good one.
Yeah, he's a beast.
And that's great to build around. Name an offensive lineman on Buffalo. Name anyone that stands out to you on that line.
Not much.
No. A couple of decent players.
Yeah, nothing terrible.
That doesn't cut it.
No, it's not good enough.
And they've been replacing average to slightly above with that for 5 years. So you've basically wasted your quarterbacks on for years.
Yep.
That's why I say the window's closing. But Cincinnati has a little time left on that window. Depending on what moves the Jets make this season, watch out. You get a quarterback in there and you're with the offensive weapons that are there and a defense that is already pretty good, they can make noise, especially if that quarterback's a veteran.
That's it. All right. Well, you know what? I think we covered everything we need to cover today. in 1 hour. I think we did a hell of a job.
Oh, we're done?
We could be. I mean, that
All right.
you know, why not? Let's have a half Super Bowl day. We covered everything we need to do.
When are people gonna
Make this a national holiday?
thank you petition to make the day after a national holiday?
You know what? We're doing this in an unofficial halfway on Cave Talk Radio today. I'm making an executive decision. There's really nothing else to talk about. There's a bunch of NBA games today, but we'll get to those tomorrow. We'll just.
Oh, can I give you one thing before we do that?
Yeah,
though?
sure. What do you got?
NBA buyout market's kicked in.
Oh, there we go.
Danny Green went to Cleveland,
Yep, I saw that.
who the Celtics wanted. Reggie Jackson to Denver, and Terrence Ross to Dallas.
There you go.
3 good ads.
Yeah,
Okay.
No, Terrence Ross went to Phoenix. Yeah,
Did he?
Yeah, he was going to go to Dallas, and then he changed his mind at the last second.
Oh,
and he went
that's
to
right.
Phoenix.
That's right. My notes are all messed up. Okay. Yes, Phoenix makes it even gives them even more depth. I thought it was good for Dallas, which is why I thought it was Dallas, and I knew he was talking to them.
Yep.
I stand corrected. That's a perfect way to end.
That's the way to do it. All right. Well, that'll be that. We'll be back tomorrow for a full show. Good stuff today. The Gary Ayd Show. You're on the Cave.